Something you said about President Putin. This was right after the invasion in March of 2022. Take a look.
This guy lies, habitually lies. He's never kept a deal they've ever signed, and he lies all the time. And I don't know why, but he plays this like a violin in the West, because the West wants to believe that you can cut a deal with everybody. You can't cut a deal with guys like this. He's a professional, experienced liar.
Mr. Secretary, given that, what makes you think that if you are able to reach a deal with President Putin, that he would stick to it, based on, as you just said, he's a liar?
Well, that's the point. That's why the deal has to have enforceable mechanisms in it. That's why the deal has to have things like security guarantees. That's the point I was making a few minutes ago when you were asking me about looking someone in the eye. What's important here is actions, not words, not paper, document. Those are all important. Those are elements of a deal, but they have to be enforceable. They have to be verifiable. They have to be enduring. There's no point here in signing a deal that's going to be violated in 3 or 4 months. There's no point in doing that. It actually would make things worse. So that's why this is such a difficult thing. Not only do you need a deal, you need a deal that's verifiable, that's enforceable, and that's enduring. If you don't achieve that, then I think you could have a ceasefire for a few months, a few weeks, and then the war will start again and more people will die. That's not the outcome we're interested in. That's not the outcome anyone wants. So that's why this is so difficult.
So you can't cut deals with a guy like Putin, which is why this administration is now in the midst of cutting deals with a guy like Putin. Just want to make sure I'm understanding here. In fact, not only is this administration trying to cut deals with a guy who they all know is not a good faith negotiating partner, they're actually embarrassing themselves by doing so. Donald Trump literally rolled out the red carpet for Putin just days ago in an effort to strike up a deal. Also that Putin could come here, get a photo, and then bail. And don't take my word for it, take Fox News's.
It was just very unusual, atypical, and I think we're all awaiting, the readout, because the way that it felt in the room was not good. It did not seem like things went well, and it seemed like Putin came in and steamrolled, got right into what he wanted to say, and got his photo next to the president and then left.
So Trump pulled out all the stops for his big summit and ended up with no ceasefire, no second meeting, and no deal. And I'm sorry, but anyone who didn't think Trump would get absolutely rolled is either a fool or has spent so much time up Trump's ass that they haven't gotten enough oxygen to their brains. Of fucking course, Trump got played. What incentive is there for Putin to surrender anything when he already knows that he owns Trump? Donald Trump is so desperate for his validation and affection that he will, and has, bent over backwards to give him exactly what he wants at every turn. And in return for that, well, Trump rolled out the red carpet for a murderous dictator, and when I say red carpet, I'm not being facetious. Nothing like pulling out all the stops for a guy who's going to humiliate you on your own turf. In other words, for the better part of a decade, these Republicans have known who Putin is, and yet they're now making the voluntary choice to allow him to roll them. The only thing worse than being Putin's tool is choosing to be Putin's tool. Granted, this isn't even close to the only time that Marco Rubio has sold out for power. Here he is back in 2016.
You compared Donald Trump to a third world dictator yesterday in an interview with the New York Times. How so?
Well, I don't know about a dictator. I said a third world strongman. He's running for president, so no matter what, he won't be a dictator unless our republic completely crumbles, which I don't anticipate it will. But yeah, here's what happens in many countries around the world. You have a leader that emerges and basically says, don't put your faith in yourselves, don't put your faith in society, put your faith in me. I'm a strong leader, and I'm going to make things better all by myself. This is very typical. You see it in the third world. You see it a lot in Latin America for decades. It's basically the argument he's making that he single-handedly is going to turn the country around. We've never been that kind of country. We have a president. The president is an American citizen who serves for a period of time, constrained by the constitutions and the powers vested in that office. The president works for the people, not the people for the president. And if you listen to the way he describes himself and what he's going to do, he's going to single-handedly do this and do that without regard for whether it's legal or not. Look, I think people are going to have to make up their mind. I can tell you this, no matter what happens in this election, for years to come, there are many people on the right, in the media, and voters at large that are going to be having to explain and justify how they fell into this trap of supporting Donald Trump, because this is not going to end well.
For years to come, many people on the right are going to have to explain and justify how they fell into this trap of supporting Donald Trump. I think I've got a pretty good idea of where we can start as it relates to that list of people. Am I right, Marco? But the reality is that Rubio knows full well that he's contradicting himself. He knows full well that he's undermining his own stated positions, but it's not about consistency. It's not about long-standing principles. It's not about standing for anything other than your allegiance to one man. That's all the Republican Party is at this point. It is performing for an audience of one. So Rubio may have told the truth about Putin back in 2016, but now all he cares about is making sure that he gets pets from Donald Trump. And so he'll say whatever he has to say, regardless of how hypocritical it makes him look. If dignity was in any way a concern, that ship has long since sailed. And that reality is the perfect microcosm for today's Republican Party more broadly. You've got all of these people who know that they sold their supporters a bill of goods. This is a party that promised lower costs, ended wars, free IVF, no changes to earned benefits, lower inflation, and accountability for those on the Epstein list. Quite literally, none of those promises are being kept. Americans will lose health care. IVF will not be free. Medicaid will be cut. Prices are rising. Inflation is surging. And Trump is burying the Epstein list with the help of nearly every Republican in Washington, D.C. Again, if dignity was even a mild concern, these people wouldn't be able to sleep at night. But the reality is that dignity is not a concern. Their dignity was traded for their blind fealty to Trump a long time ago. Now they exist solely to serve not their constituents, but one man, the God King. That's what they're in office to do, to keep Trump happy no matter the cost. If that means fucking over the very people who voted for him, so be it, because it's not about you, it's about Trump. In this case, Marco Rubio isn't a bug, he is a feature of the modern GOP. He'll go on TV and listen to his own words get played back to him, and he'll make some pathetic effort to justify the completely obvious hypocrisy, but his explanation would be a lot shorter if he just told the truth. His position changed because it's no longer about the truth or logic or honesty. It is about towing Trump's line. It's about doing apologia for a guy that is so desperate to be in the autocrat club that he'll bring a murderous dictator onto American soil, already disqualifying enough, and then worse, allow that murderous dictator to humiliate him. That's Marco Rubio's job right now, being an empty suit for that guy. As a man who once had allegiance to the truth once said, for years to come, there are many people on the right that are going to have to explain and justify how they fell into this trap of supporting Donald Trump. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks.